Good morning, students. Today we have to discuss chapter Working of Institutions, page 57. In some books, this page can be 79 according to different editions. So, in this chapter Working of Institutions, we have to deal with the democratic institutions. So, students, democracy, I have told you, it is not just about people electing their leaders, their representatives. In a democracy, these leaders, they have to follow some rules and procedures. So if we are electing our leaders, then within the democratic structure, they have to follow certain rules and procedures. They have to work with and within these institutions. And in this chapter, we will deal about the working of such institutions in a democracy. We will try to understand by looking at manner in which major decisions are taken and implemented in our country. So we will see how major decisions are taken and implemented in our country, and we will also look at how disputes regarding these decisions are resolved. So for this purpose, in this process, we come across three institutions that play a very important role in major decisions, that is legislature, executive, and judiciary. So you have already read something about these institutions in your earlier grades, and now here we shall quickly summarize how those and move on asking the larger questions. And in the case of each institution, we ask, what does this institution do? How is this institution connected to other institution? What makes its functioning more or less democratic? So the basic objective here is to understand how all these institutions to carry on the working of the government. Sometimes we compare these with similar institutions in other democracies also. So in this chapter, we will take example from the working of our national level government called the central government or the union government or the government of India. So let's discuss here on page 57 here. The topic, how is major policy decision taken? So on August 13, 1990, the government of India issued an order. So the government of India, on a specific date, it is written the year 1990, they issued an order. It was called an office. So same page, students, 57, and I was talking about here the government order. The office memorandum was issued in August 1990, and like all other government order, it had a specific number also. And the joint secretary and officer in the Department of Personnel and Training in the Ministry of Personnel, Public Grievance and Pension signed this order. And it was quite short order, and the picture is given in your book also of this order. Barely one page notice order it is. It looked like any other ordinary circular or notices that you might have seen in your school also. And the government issues hundred of such orders every day on different matters. But this one was very important, and this became a cause, the source of or the cause of controversy for several years. Means the heated discussion started after this office order or this office communication was issued. So let's see how the decision was taken and what happened after that. So I was talking about on page, now we have to see the page 58, and on page 57 I was talking about the office memorandum, that in August 1990 an office memorandum was issued by the government, after which the heated debate started in our country. Now this specific order announced a major policy decision of the government. It said that 27% of the vacancies in the civil posts and services in the government of India are reserved for socially and educationally backward classes. So SEBC is another name for all those people who belong to castes that are considered to be backward by the government. So the benefits of job reservation was still then available only to scheduled castes and scheduled tribes. But now a third category was also introduced by the government, that is socially and educationally backward classes, and only person who belong to this category are eligible for this quota of 27% jobs. Other could not compete for these jobs. So that's why the protest started, that already the government is providing reservation to the scheduled caste and scheduled tribe, and now the third category is also added. Now we have to see who were the decision makers who have decided or implemented this decision. So we have to see the decision makers now. Now, who decided to issue this memorandum? Means clearly such a big decision could not have been taken by the person who signed that document. So it is not that the chief secretary he has taken this decision. The officer was merely only implementing the instructions given by the Minister of Personal, Public Grievance and Pensions, of which the department was a part. So only that officer was just implementing the decision, but who has taken that decision? So we can guess that such a major decision would have involved other major officials also, other functionaries also in our country. So you have already read in the previous grades about some of them. So let's see. President. So first is president. President is head of our state, and is the highest formal authority in the country. And then is the prime minister. So prime minister is the head of the government, and he actually exercises all the governmental powers. So all the government powers, the real powers, are with him. He takes all the decisions in the cabinet meetings. And our parliament, it consists of two houses, the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha. So Lok Sabha is our lower house and Rajya Sabha is our upper house. And the prime minister must have a support of the majority of Lok Sabha members. You also know this thing in order to take any of the majority decision. So were all these people involved in this decision regarding the office memorandum? So let us find out. This office memorandum was, you can say, culmination of a long chain of events. Means it is a it attained after a very long time. Means it is a result of a long chain of events. The government of India has appointed the second backward classes commission in way back 1979. It was headed by BP Mandal at that time. Hence it was called the Mandal Commission, and it was asked to determine the criteria to identify the socially and educationally backward classes in India. So a commission was appointed in 1979, headed by BP Mandal. So this commission was known as Mandal Commission. And why it was established? To identify socially and educationally backward classes in India, and then to recommend the steps to be taken for their advancement. So the commission gave its report in 1980. So after 1 year, the commission submitted its report and made many recommendations. And one of these recommendations was that 27% of government jobs should be reserved for socially and educationally backward classes. The reports and recommendations were discussed in the parliament for several years. Many parties and many other leaders, they kept demanding the implementation of the commission's recommendations. Then came the Lok Sabha elections of 1989, and in its election manifesto, Janta Dal said that if we will come to power, we will implement the Mandal Commission report. And the Janta Dal did form the government after the election, and its leader VP Singh became the prime minister. So let's see now what developments took place after that. Now on page 59, students, here earlier on page 58, I was explaining that how the decision was taken, this very important decision of, after which the protest started in our country. So the Prime Minister VP Singh, he became the Prime Minister, and he in his election manifesto he promised that if he will become the Prime Minister, if his government will come to power, I will surely implement the Mandal Commission recommendation. So the President of India in his address to the Parliament announced the intention of the government to implement the recommendations of the Mandal Commission. So the President of India, he has given the uh, hint in the House to the Parliament that government is going to implement the recommendations. On 6 August 1990, a Union Cabinet took a formal decision to implement the recommendations. So Cabinet meeting was called in 1990, and they took the decision, now we are implementing the recommendations. Next day, Prime Minister VP Singh informed the Parliament about his decision through a statement in both the houses of the Parliament. And the decision of the Cabinet was sent to the Department of Personnel and Training, and the senior officers of the department just drafted an order in line with the cabinet decisions and took the minister's approval. So now everything is clear. The prime minister, the cabinet, they have said, they have informed the parliament, they have informed the president that we are going to now implement the recommendations. The officers of the concerned department of the concerned ministry, they just drafted an order on the lines of the whatever command, whatever directions were given by the concerned ministry, and an officer signed the order on behalf of the union government. Okay, so this and this office memorandum came out on 13 August 1990. For the next few days, this was the most heatedly or hotly debated issues in the country. Newspaper magazines were full of different views, opinions on this issue. It led to the widespread protest by the journal category students, because they felt that they are being denied, by giving such reservation, they are being denied the fair chance of opportunities. So now the violent protest started. People reacted strongly because of this decision affected thousands of the job opportunities of the journal caste. Some felt that existence of inequalities among people of India necessitated this job reservation, that inequality is there, economic inequality is there, regional inequality is there in our country, social inequalities are there. So that's why these job reservations are given, for the upliftment of the downtrodden section of the society, of the marginalized section of the society. So for their upliftment, such kind of job reservations are required. They felt this would give them a fair opportunity to those communities who so far had not adequately been represented in the government employment, and others felt that this was unfair, as it would deny the equality of opportunity to those who did not belong to the backward community, that is the general caste people. So they would be denied jobs even though they would be more qualified. So some felt this will continue, or this will increase the caste feeling among the people, and it will hinder the national unity. So in this chapter we won't discuss whether the decision was good or no. We have nothing to do with this. We only take this example to understand how major decisions are taken and implemented in our country. Now disputes started. So I have told you protests started in the country. Now who will resolve this dispute? So we have Supreme Court, high courts in India, and they will settle the disputes which arise out of the government decisions. So some persons association, they oppose this order, they filed number of cases in the court, they appeal to the court to declare the order as invalid, stop its implementation. So the Supreme Court, they clubbed all these cases together, and this case was known as Indrasani versus and others versus Union of India case. So on the one side government of India was there, and on the other side all the people who moved to the Supreme Court, Indrasani and others. So 11 judges of the Supreme Court heard argument of both the sides. By the majority, the Supreme Court judges in 1992 declared that this order of government of India was valid, but they modified. Certain amendment was made by the Supreme Court. So let's see what that amendment was. So now the Supreme Court, they asked the government to modify the original order. It said that well-to-do person among the backward classes should be excluded from getting benefits of the job reservation. So accordingly, the Department of Personnel and Training issued another office memorandum in 1993, and the dispute thus came to an end, and this policy has been followed since then. So you have seen how the major decisions are taken, how they are implemented. So the proper discussion was there in both the houses, implementation was done, prime minister was there in the picture, president was there, cabinet approval was there, then the both houses discussion was there. So this is how the major policy decisions and are implemented and taken in our country.